The dominant narrative in America is white people are evil, white people suck, we should be ashamed of ourselves. And
I don't think we should be ashamed of ourselves. I think that we should take responsibility for the system that we've created.
The best system in the world?
Oh, we do not have the best system in
Who
the
has
world.
a better system?
There are many European countries that are much better off than
Oh, you
us.
mean like the European countries with a higher density of whites, like Northern Europe?
That's one way to phrase it, I guess.
You don't mean Turkey.
No.
You don't mean Eastern Europe
No.
with the communists. So the only time you can come up with a system that's better than America, it's a country that's more white than America. I don't understand.
I don't know what to say to that. So,
Are you familiar with Mattress Girl?
mm-hmm.
What do you think happened there in reality?
I take her experience for it that there were substances involved and she was non-consensually forced to have sex.
Well, her contention is she was having nice vaginal sex and then he put it in her ass and she said stop.
Yeah.
But afterwards, she went to the police with this and they saw her texts and they saw her basically stalking him afterwards, saying, I want you to fuck me in the ass and let's go on a date. I want to see you again. I mean, tons and tons of Facebook messages and texts. Does that refute her story?
I think that we deal with trauma in very different ways, and sometimes that anger comes out in bizarre situations like that, where you think it'll be better if you take it out on this person and by harassing them with strange text messages. I mean, she was also young and she was trying to deal with her emotional world in many different ways at once.
The way you're clinging to this narrative, it reminds me of a study that said when people are confronted with data that contradicts their beliefs, they become more steadfast in their beliefs.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that as well.
I mean, this guy is suing the school. Women do not court their rapists. They don't say, fuck me in the ass after they've been anally raped. They go to court. They get the police to arrest this guy. She's clearly a liar, but because people like you empower her, they end up running with this lie. And it makes me mad as more of a feminist than most feminists, because it trivializes the woman who was attacked with a knife in an alleyway by a guy and raped and had to go on AIDS medication after.
Right. Those instances are horrifying, but my issue with taking apart her story a bunch is that most instances of rape and sexual assault are with somebody you know. It's with somebody you went on a date with. It has lots of gray lines. It's not a stranger on the street. Most of the time it's somebody already in your life who has crossed that boundary. And so it gets really sticky when you start taking apart the actual events. And yeah, I think
that's called justice, Heather.
I think after an assault, it is quite questionable to send messages asking for anal sex.
Yeah,
but I would also say that like devaluing somebody's no mid-sex is frequent, and it gets tricky when you know somebody and when you are consenting to part of the interaction, but not all of it.
We can't question these victims. That's what justice is. By not questioning the victim, we've ruined this guy's life. That's why he's suing the school. I mean, we have met, and if you look at the data, well, I'm afraid blacks are raping wildly disproportionately to their representation in the population. I mean, if you look at the number of white men who rape black women and the number of black men who rape white women, it's startling.
What are those numbers? Do you have them?
I don't have them on me, but the white men who rape white women is so inconsequential, it's hard to quantify. It's something like 8. And then the black men who rape white women is in the hundreds.
And that may be based on who's reporting, because
I think you would prefer if it was the other way around, because it would fit your sort of plantation narrative.
I'm not trying to make it fit a plantation narrative.
Well, I just don't understand why someone who cares about rape can ignore statistics.
I know
it's like you pick and choose.
As a white woman who's talked to many other white women and is a survivor myself, that white women are often more likely to report a black assault. They are more likely to highlight that violence and see that as violence. Whereas oftentimes this isn't coming out quite how I want it to right now. But
white woman will get raped by a black man. They'll freak out and make sure it gets on the books, but they'll get raped by a UVA jock with blonde hair and go, that wasn't really rape, or no one would believe me, or he's too powerful. Is that where we're at? That's a psychotic world you've painted. I mean,
it is close, though.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't. You see, the dominant narrative is your sticker. The dominant narrative in America is white people are evil, white people suck, we should be ashamed of ourselves. And
I don't think we should be ashamed of ourselves. I think that we should take responsibility for the system that we've created.
The best system in the world?
Oh, we do not have the best system in the world.
Who has a better system?
There are many European countries that are much better off than us.
Oh, you mean like the European countries with a higher density of whites, like Northern Europe?
That's one way to phrase it, I guess.
You don't mean Turkey.
No.
You don't mean Eastern Europe
No.
with the communists. So the only time you can come up with a system that's better than America, it's a country that's more white than America. I don't understand.
I don't know what to say to that.
So the reason whites are doing well is because we cheated.
Yeah.
But if you look at the data of Asians, for example, you will find way more Asian privilege than there is white privilege. Asians make way more money than whites. They're way more educated than whites. They are less likely to experience any kind of crime than whites are. They're less likely to die at work than whites are. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, they suffer from a different sort of racial stereotyping.
Well, they don't suffer. They're kicking our ass. Everything you can say about white privilege is more true with Asian privilege. No one grabs their purse when
pigeonholes them.
Pardon?
It still pigeonholes them.
Pigeonholes them as successful? I don't think anyone minds being pigeonholed like that. Hey, Mr. Successful, why don't you go drive a nice car?
It's not near as harmful as how black folks are stereotyped, certainly.
Okay, so why don't you start at the top then, and let's try to dismantle Asian privilege.
Asian privilege, I wouldn't call it Asian privilege.
Well, it fits all the criteria of white male privilege.
What do you mean by that?
They get better jobs. They get better educations. No one sees them as threatening. Everything that you can say that whites cheated to get is more prevalent in an Asian society. Okay, let's drop that. I guess it's not going anywhere. Because as far as we're concerned, as men, we go plus size down to skinny is fine with us. And a doctor would probably say plus size is a bit rich. So we're actually nicer than doctors when it comes to standards. But women are the ones who shit on you if your purse isn't Hermes. And women are the ones who buy these fashion magazines and insist on women that are kind of gross. They're so skinny they look like 12-year-old boys. Women and gays have gotten together and created this beauty standard that we weren't consulted on.
Yeah, I wasn't consulted either.
That's a good one. Well, I just feel like I don't understand why men get blamed for these unattainable beauty standards when we're fucking pigs. In fact, I know guys...
I don't blame individual men. I blame the system that's...
But the system is run by females and gays, the beauty fashion industry.
Yeah.
We don't have jocks. I did a sketch on this called If Dudes Ran Fashion. You don't have sports fans defining outfits.
No.
Or we just say, high heel shoes, cut off jeans, fucking a sweatshirt where you can see your tits. And we'd be good.
Yeah.
We've got so much to tackle here today, and it's going incredibly well.
Burqas and hijabs, people can wear that. That's a religious expression thing. That's not...
Is it, though?
Yeah.
Okay. If the burqa is just religious expression and it's perfectly fine, why is it black polyester in the Middle East? Why are you in a bin bag, as Billy Connolly puts it? Why isn't it flowing white gauze or a fresh cotton? It's clearly meant to punish the woman and make her suffer. Black polyester in the Middle East ain't comfy. And it impairs your vision. It's a form of oppression. But feminists in the West seem more concerned about high heel shoes, which women wear as a choice. We just had our military.
I mean, I'm not concerned about high heel shoes, and I tend not to criticize people on what they're wearing, because I think what we wear is an expression of ourselves, our culture, and a whole variety
But
of
a
factors.
burqa is not a choice. It's illegal not to wear one, and all over the Middle East, Sharia law dictates a woman cannot show her body.
I'm not from that culture, so I would rather not tell them what to do right now. In regard.
I want to talk about unattainable beauty standards. We already covered that. That's gays and women who came up with that shit.
But who's putting the money into it?
Well, the free market is. If women want to spend all that money getting a pedicure, we don't even see your fucking feet. Can you imagine? I can't even conceive of a man saying, yeah, I went on a date with her and she hadn't had a pedicure in a while. Her toes were way too long. Like, that's never happened.
I know.
Women are bleaching their anus. You know how many men have gone, she's almost perfect, but her anus is brown. So we're splitting up.
Yeah.
The only thing we have is remarkably obese, doesn't pay any attention to anything about herself. And the one deal breaker, and I'm sorry, ladies, but you have deal breakers too, unbelievably thin hair. Like when you can see the whole skull.
Okay.
That's
a deal breaker for you?
That's a deal breaker. And I don't want to get to a feminism where that's beautiful. But this guy said that women choose to earn less. And it sounds shocking, like, I don't want any money, thanks. But his point was actually pretty well researched. And he was saying, when there's a situation like, okay, guys, you and I work at Stelco. We got to stay all night to work on this proposal. We might not get it. My daughter has a piano recital. Your daughter has a piano recital. You are more likely, over the course of millions of women, the female is more likely to say, I'm going to my daughter's piano recital. Sorry. I'm more likely to stay all night. That means that choice again and again and again eventually leads to me going up the ladder faster and making more money.
Yeah, different life priorities.
Yeah. Now, the guy on Fox was saying that this is a good thing because it's God's way, nature's way of saying women are happier at home. I mean, if you take a female chimp and you put her right there, she can play with a truck or a stuffed animal. And you put a male chimp there, he can play with a truck or a stuffed animal. Invariably, they've done this with 800 different cases. The male chimps almost always go for the truck, and the female chimps almost always go for the stuffed animal and start stroking it and nurturing it.
Yeah.
So
there is something mothery that is in a lot of women.
So let's be feminist. Let's glorify the housewife. Let's glorify their choice to earn less.
I'm all for glorifying the housewife and glorifying all the women and the choices that they make and how to live their lives.
Great. So we're on the same page there. So the wage gap is a myth. You believe that now?
I don't completely believe that. I think that some of that plays a factor, that like how late women stay, how much time and energy they're putting towards their career development. But I think that there's also other factors that contribute to not earning the same as men. I mean, sexual assault is still an issue.
More men get raped than women.
Again, I didn't specify gender when I said sexual assault.
But we're talking about feminism.
Feminism is also dealing with sexual assault across genders.
So we need feminism because too many men are getting raped.
Too many people are getting raped. That's part of it.
Okay, that actually makes sense. We need feminism because more men are getting raped than women, and we need to bring that number down.
We need to bring all numbers down around rape and sexual assault.
Well, the cases of rape are plummeting over the past quarter century. All crime is going down. Okay, but then feminists should be outside prisons going, this is out of control. Stop prison rape. Stop prison rape. Leave men alone. Leave men alone. I cannot picture that.
Yeah, well, I think that there should be more.
Okay, so men getting raped is one fire that we need feminism for. Give me another one. Minimum wage?
Minimum wage jobs.
You're not supposed to raise a family at McDonald's.
You may not be supposed to be, but there are too many people that is their only option.
Oh, because illegal aliens have crowded out the
Not
market.
just that.
Well, 15 million illegals working cheap has surely affected
the
bottom line. So I think if you're concerned about wages and the working class, you should be fighting illegal immigration.
The biggest concern is the wealth gap, though. I mean, how much the top percent is making in comparison to everybody else.
I do agree that CEOs make too much, but you remind me of a Margaret Thatcher quote where she said, labor would rather have the wealth gap here where both are poorer than a gap like this where the where the poor are richer, but the gap is bigger. Would you rather have both down here than a big gap with the poor slightly higher?
I think it would make for a healthier society.
To be down here?
To be closer to equal, yeah.
And do you think the government's role is to regulate that and impose it on the society?
To some extent.
So you're a socialist?
I wouldn't say that, but I believe in some socialist ideals.
Have you ever been to the DMV?
Yep.
These are the people, these fucking bureaucrats with no interest in being there, these rude, lazy morons are going to be handling your justice. You're imparting your freedom and your liberty and your equality. You're saying, hey, shitheads, can you run my life, please?
Not all government employees are.
Yes,
lazy.
they are.
No, they're not.
That's why they're in the government. Politicians are not...
There are many different government jobs, and they are not just the DMV.
No, because they don't have regulation. They don't have the free market kicking them out, so incompetence abounds. In fact, it's encouraged. And they are all about getting more money, justifying their department, getting bigger next year. You know, my brother runs a brewery tour in my hometown. It's $80. And they have to pay a fine now to a government regulation agency that dispenses travel licenses, because going from brewery to brewery is considered travel. They have to pay 25 grand now. They can't afford it, so they're just shutting down the tours. He wasn't making that much money on them anyway, but the government ruined it. Now, that institution was founded to protect people who were going to the Congo or somewhere crazy, and it said, hey, travel agent, you need this license, and tell the government when these people go to these places so we can make sure we know if they're abducted or something. Mm-hmm. Of course, that doesn't happen anymore, or it happens incredibly rarely, maybe in Colombia. So this institution has to keep going. So now they just are attacking random brewery tours so they can have a fucking job. That's what happens when you say, government, regulate me. The free market will handle all this justice.